All right, let's talk further on this then. We're now joined by our correspondent in Moscow, Russia, that's Stuart Smith. A very good day to you, Stuart. All right, so before this UN Security Council vote and Russia obviously using its veto power against the resolution, it had seemed as though there was a willingness on the part of Russia to, have some sort of talks, and then we saw the sort of opposite from that media briefing that Putin had yesterday. What is the latest right now? Give us an update on the latest developments, please.
Yes, certainly. Both sides, Ukraine and Russia, say they are willing for talks. And the latest we heard as late as last night here in Moscow was that talks are currently stuck on the decision where they should take place, whether it be in Minsk, the capital of Belarus, or Warsaw in Poland. Ukraine would prefer Poland, Russia would prefer Minsk. But as well as that, we know that for Ukraine to be able to talk to Russia, Russia has said it would first have to both lay down arms and make some incredibly strong concessions. It would have to recognise Crimea as part of Russia. It would have to recognise those separatist states in the east of Ukraine as independent. It would have to withdraw its request to join the NATO military alliance and remove all Western weaponry from its territory. In effect, it would be Ukraine surrendering, but the presidential spokesperson of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says they are engaging in talks. They are looking at negotiations as a way, the quickest way to peace, he says, and it's not clear yet what concessions Ukraine would be willing to make, but there are attempts at diplomacy. Let me give you an update here in Moscow on the situation as those sanctions start to bite. Indeed, there is a lot of concern amongst Russian people with the very large fall in the ruble. What previously you could have withdrawn, say, for example, $100 US, it's now more likely $120 US worth of rubles. It's quite a major fall, and because of that, Russian people are trying to withdraw dollar currency using the ATM system here, which they're unable to provide. However, the Russian central bank is saying they are taking measures to make sure Russians can still withdraw rubles. The problem being, of course, these are now much devalued. In terms of the foreign diplomacy of Russia and the West, well, some quite strong lines coming from Dmitry Medvedev. You may remember he was a previous president of Russia. He's now the deputy chair of the Security Council here. He's saying that the governments here, the embassies, should in effect just padlock the doors and leave. That's how bad the diplomatic situation is between Russia and Western countries. He's in effect saying there's no point talking to the West anymore. All the embassies should just leave. That's not an official request. He's just outlining how bad relations have got here. One final thing to mention. There have been many sanctions, as I'm sure you've been discussing, placed on Russia. The biggest sort of mother of all sanctions has not yet been placed. The SWIFT payment system has not yet been cancelled for international transactions to Russia, but the governor of the body in the Eurozone, which would have to make that decision, says that could come in the next few days. That would be the biggest sanction yet, apart from hitting the president himself, to come from the international community.
Yeah, you're talking about the sanctions starting to bite, as you've put it. No doubt that Putin would fight back. And in fact, I'd heard some reports that, certain airlines or certain planes were being stopped from coming into Russia or Russian airspace. What can you tell us on that? With no doubt that Putin would be wanting to fight back these sort of sanctions, and certainly if they become even harder, those sanctions, he will be doing more. What are we hearing, and I mean his reaction really to the sanctions that have currently been imposed?
Yeah, we're seeing a tit-for-tat, in effect, which is Russia's normal response to sanctions. Of course, because these ones from the West this time are so severe, Russia's hitting back in kind. On the airspace, I'll address that first. Indeed, a lot of European countries, especially, no longer offering flights to Russia. Both the airlines choosing to do that, often citing security concerns, but also some countries taking a principled position not to allow their flag carriers, like the United Kingdom with British Airways, to fly over Russian territory from a diplomatic, principled stance. In terms of Russia's response to sanctions, well, here we go. The Russian carrier Aeroflot will now not be flying to United Kingdom airspace. The same kind of tit for tat here. And in general, Russia says it will hit back with now foreign companies Russian companies in the West sanctioned and their assets frozen, Russia says it will do the same to foreign companies here in Russia. They didn't specify who yet, but the general approach, they say, will be to freeze the assets of foreign individuals in Russia and freeze the assets of certain foreign companies in Russia.
All right, Stuart, thank you very much for that update. No doubt we'll be in touch with you as the story does, as we see continue to develop. Many thanks to you, Stuart Smith, our correspondent in Moscow, Russia, giving us the latest there on that Russia-Ukraine crisis. Meanwhile,